The cold darkness of space stretched endlessly in all directions as the alien ship Velthar moved slowly through the outer edge of an unknown solar system. Commander Zexthul stood at the center of the bridge, watching the screens that showed a small blue planet, orbiting a yellow star. His three eyes focused on the data streams flowing across his console. This world looked different from the thousands of dead rocks they had found before. The planet showed clear signs of life and technology. Radio waves bounced between metal objects in orbit. Small vessels moved between the planet and its single moon. Primitive but active. Zexthul had seen this pattern before on dozens of worlds across the galaxy. Young civilizations always followed the same path. They would discover fire, then metals, then energy, then spaceflight. Most never made it past their own solar system. Science officer Krelvik approached with his datapad in hand. His yellow skin showed the excitement markings that appeared when his species made interesting discoveries. Commander, the inhabitants have achieved nuclear energy and basic space travel. Their technology level suggests they developed these abilities within the last century. Very rapid progress for such a young species. Zexthul nodded slowly. The Zephyrian Empire had been exploring the galaxy for over 3,000 years. They had contacted hundreds of species at various stages of development. Most were peaceful traders who joined the galactic community without trouble. Some were aggressive but primitive and easily contained. A few had advanced technology, but lacked the military strength to challenge established powers. This species would likely fit into one of these categories. Begin standard survey protocols, Zexthul ordered. I want complete scans of their technology, population centers, and military capabilities. The Empire will want a full report before deciding on contact procedures. Meanwhile, in the inner system, Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the UES Defender. The massive warship hung in space near Jupiter like a steel predator waiting for prey. Morrison had commanded naval vessels for 15 years before transferring to the new Space Command. The transition from ocean warfare to space combat required new thinking, but the basic principles remained the same. Control your territory, know your enemy, and strike first when threatened. The Defender was humanity's first true interstellar warship. 2 years of construction had produced a vessel that represented everything humans had learned about warfare in their long and violent history. Every system was designed for combat. Every crew member was trained for battle. The ship existed for one purpose only, to protect Earth and human interests in space. Lieutenant Amy Carter sat at the communications station monitoring all frequencies for unusual signals. Her job was to watch for threats that might approach Earth from the darkness between stars. For 2 months, the Defender had patrolled the outer system without finding anything more dangerous than asteroid debris. Carter had begun to think that humanity was alone in the universe. That thought ended when her sensors detected something impossible. Captain, Carter called out, her voice steady despite the importance of her discovery. I'm reading an unknown vessel at extreme sensor range. It appears to be conducting detailed scans of Earth. Morrison moved to her station immediately. The screen showed a faint contact moving slowly through space beyond Neptune's orbit. The object was clearly artificial and far too large to be human-made. After decades of wondering if intelligent life existed elsewhere in the universe, first contact was happening during a military patrol. Red alert throughout the ship, Morrison ordered. All hands to battle stations. This is not a drill. The bridge transformed as crew members moved to combat positions. Lieutenant Commander Steve Harper took his place at the weapons console. Major Lisa Brooks appeared on the communications screen from the Marine deck. Dr. Helen Martinez hurried to the science station. Within minutes, the Defender was ready for battle. Harper's fingers moved quickly over his controls as he brought the ship's weapon systems online. Railguns charged and ready. Nuclear torpedoes loaded in all tubes. Point defense systems active. All weapons report ready for combat. Morrison studied the tactical display. The unknown vessel was much smaller than the Defender, but its technology was completely foreign. Human sensors could detect its presence but could not penetrate its hull or determine its capabilities. This put humanity at a significant disadvantage in any potential conflict. Dr. Martinez, what can you tell me about our visitor? Morrison asked. Martinez examined her readings carefully. The vessel uses some form of advanced propulsion that produces no visible exhaust or energy signature. Its hull appears to be constructed from materials not found in our periodic table. Most concerning, it's conducting extremely detailed scans of Earth and our orbital installations. On the Velthar, Krelvik was discovering things about the human world that surprised him. The planet's inhabitants had not only achieved spaceflight, but had built extensive orbital facilities. Military installations orbited their world like a defensive network. Most interesting was the large warship that appeared to be patrolling the outer system. "Commander, these beings show unusual military development for such a young species," Krelvik reported. "Their orbital defenses are more extensive than most civilizations achieve, until centuries after first achieving spaceflight. They also appear to have constructed a significant military vessel." Zexthal moved to examine the data himself. The human warship was indeed impressive for a primitive species, large enough to carry significant firepower, and apparently designed specifically for combat rather than exploration or trade. Most young civilizations built exploration vessels first, and only developed military ships after making contact with hostile neighbors. "Begin deep scans of their warship," Zexthal ordered. "I want to know exactly what kind of threat these beings might pose to Imperial interests. Their unusual military focus suggests they may be more dangerous than typical pre-contact species." The Defender began moving toward the alien vessel at maximum speed. Morrison had decided that allowing unknown aliens to scan Earth's defenses was unacceptable. If they wanted information about human capabilities, they would have to ask for it directly, rather than taking it by force. "Communications. Prepare first contact protocols," Morrison ordered. "But keep all weapons ready. If they're hostile, I want to be able to respond immediately." The two ships moved toward each other through the cold darkness of space. Neither crew fully understood what they were about to encounter, but both were prepared for the possibility that this meeting might determine the future of their respective species. The age of human isolation was about to end, and the galaxy was about to discover what kind of neighbors they had been sharing space with all along. The Zephyrian scanning arrays worked with perfect efficiency as they penetrated deep into the human warship's hull. Advanced sensors designed to analyze the technology of primitive civilizations began their systematic examination of every component, weapon system, and design feature of the UES Defender. What they discovered in the first few minutes would fundamentally change how the Zephyrian Empire viewed this young species and their potential threat to galactic stability. Krell. Vic watched his console with growing amazement as data flooded in from the scanning systems. The human vessel's power source alone defied everything he understood about technological development. Instead of the fusion reactors that most spacefaring species used for centuries before advancing to more sophisticated power systems, these humans had somehow managed to create and control antimatter reactions. The energy output readings were so high that he checked his instruments twice to make sure they were functioning correctly. "Commander," Krelvik called out, his voice carrying notes of disbelief that his species rarely displayed. "Their primary power system appears to be based on controlled antimatter annihilation. The energy output is equivalent to what we would expect from a civilization at least 500 years more advanced than their apparent development level." Zexthal moved to examine the readings himself. Antimatter containment required materials science and magnetic field control systems that most species took millennia to develop safely. The fact that these humans had achieved such technology, while still confined to a single solar system, suggested either remarkable scientific advancement or extremely dangerous experimental practices. The weapon system scan revealed even more disturbing information. The human ship mounted what appeared to be kinetic accelerators capable of launching projectiles at 30% of light speed. Such weapons required enormous amounts of energy and precision manufacturing that should have been impossible for a species that had only recently achieved interstellar travel capabilities. "Sir, their primary armament consists of multiple railgun systems with projectile velocities that exceed anything in our military database." Krelvik continued his report. "The power requirements alone suggest they have solved energy distribution problems that challenge even advanced civilizations. But the weapons were only the beginning of what made the human vessel so concerning. The ship's armor was not constructed from standard metallic alloys or ceramic composites that most species used. Instead, layers of unknown materials showed properties that suggested they could withstand directed energy, weapons powerful enough to vaporize conventional starship. Hull's Captain Morrison made his decision quickly as he watched the alien vessel's scanning activities on his tactical display. "Helm intercept course. Maximum acceleration. Communications, open channels on all frequencies, and prepare first contact protocols. The UES Defender changed course with smooth precision, its advanced engines pushing the massive warship toward the alien intruder at speeds that impressed even experienced space crew members. The ship had been designed not just for heavy combat, but for rapid response to threats anywhere in the solar system. As the human warship accelerated toward them, the Zephyrian sensors detected something that made Commander Zexthul question everything he thought he knew about civilized warfare. The Defender appeared to be designed around military doctrines that no advanced species had employed for over 1,000 years. Commander, their vessel appears to be specifically engineered for ramming attacks, Krelvik reported, his voice now showing the fear markings that appeared on his species when confronting deadly threats. The entire forward section is reinforced for direct collision impacts at high velocity. What kind of beings designed starships for deliberate collision attacks? The truth was far more sophisticated and terrifying than simple ramming attacks. The human ship had been designed to survive collision speeds that would destroy most vessels, while maintaining enough structural integrity to continue fighting afterward. This suggested a military philosophy based on absolute commitment to victory, regardless of the cost to their own forces. The secondary, weapon systems presented an even more disturbing picture of human military thinking. Nuclear torpedoes with yields that exceeded most planetary bombardment weapons, point defense systems designed to destroy incoming projectiles through sheer volume of fire rather than precision targeting. Every system seemed designed around the principle of overwhelming firepower applied without restraint. Lieutenant Commander Harper coordinated with his weapons teams as they prepared for potential engagement with the alien vessel. All railgun batteries report ready. Nuclear torpedo tubes loaded with Mark 7 fusion warheads. Point defense networks active and tracking the target. Harper had served in the Navy before joining Space Command, and his experience with naval warfare informed his approach to space combat. The principles remained the same regardless of the environment. Detect threats early, engage with maximum force, and ensure that enemies could not threaten your mission or your crew. On the alien ship, Krelvik made a discovery that forced him to summon his commander immediately to review the data. Sir, you must see this immediately. Their computer systems contain what appears to be a complete database of military tactics, strategies, and historical combat records. The volume of information is beyond anything we have encountered. Zexthul examined the intercepted data with growing horror. The humans had not only cataloged every form of warfare they had ever practiced, but had analyzed, improved, and systematized their approaches to combat. From primitive blade fighting to theoretical antimatter bombardment, they had documented methods for defeating every type of enemy they could imagine. More disturbing than the breadth of their military knowledge was the evidence that they had actually employed most of these techniques against members of their own species. The historical records showed continuous warfare spanning their entire recorded civilization. Every technological advancement had been immediately weaponized. Every scientific discovery had been examined for military applications. These beings have spent their entire existence perfecting the art of warfare, Zexthul whispered as he reviewed battle records spanning thousands of years of human conflict. They have fought wars on every continent of their world using every weapon they could create. Their military development has never stopped. The scan revealed that human military doctrine was built around concepts that civilized species had abandoned long ago. Overwhelming force applied with surgical precision. Complete destruction of enemy capabilities rather than simple defeat. Victory achieved through superior technology, tactics, and willingness to accept casualties that would break the morale of more peaceful civilizations. Dr. Martinez monitored the alien scanning attempts from her science station while running her own analysis of the foreign vessel. Captain, they have been conducting extremely detailed structural and technological analysis of our ship for over an hour. Every system, every weapon, every defensive measure has been examined. Morrison's expression hardened as he processed this information. In human military thinking, detailed intelligence gathering about an opponent's capabilities was typically the final step before launching an attack. The fact that these aliens were scanning his ship so thoroughly suggested they were either preparing for immediate combat or gathering information for future military action against humanity. Understood, Morrison replied. Major Brooks, prepare boarding parties. Full combat gear and breach charges. If these aliens want to know what we're capable of, we'll give them a first-hand demonstration. The Zephyrians intercepted this communication, and Krelvik's translation filled their bridge with stunned silence. The humans were not just prepared to fight in space, they were prepared to capture enemy vessels through direct infantry assault while operating in the vacuum of space. Their military doctrine included specialized soldiers trained to fight inside starships while wearing armor designed for zero-atmosphere combat operations. The distance between the two vessels continued to shrink as both ships maintained their approach courses through the darkness of space. On the Zephyrian ship, the analysis of human military capabilities continued to reveal information that painted an increasingly terrifying picture of what this young species had accomplished in their brief existence. Each new discovery suggested that humanity represented a type of threat that the galaxy had not seen for thousands of years. The UES Defender's secondary weapon systems included something the Zephyrian computers identified as nuclear torpedoes. These were self-guided missiles carrying fusion warheads with explosive yields that exceeded most weapons used for planetary bombardment. The fact that humans had miniaturized such destructive power into ship-mounted weapons suggested a military philosophy that prioritized overwhelming firepower over surgical precision. Krelvik studied the weapon specifications with growing alarm. Commander, their torpedo systems carry warheads with yields between 50 and 200 megatons each. For comparison, most civilized species use weapons of this power only for asteroid mining or emergency planetary defense. These humans have mounted them as standard ship-to-ship armaments. The implications were staggering. Most galactic civilizations had learned through bitter experience that weapons of mass destruction were counterproductive in space warfare. The debris created by such powerful explosions posed risks to friendly forces and civilian populations. Civilized species had developed precision weapons that could disable enemy vessels without creating long-term hazards. Humans appeared to have chosen a different approach entirely. Lieutenant Commander Harper coordinated with his weapons teams as they continued preparations for potential combat. The ship's marine detachment had moved to combat positions throughout the vessel under the command of Major Lisa Brooks. These soldiers wore powered combat exoskeletons that enhanced human strength and endurance to levels that exceeded the physical capabilities of most known alien species. All weapon systems report ready status, Harper announced to the bridge crew. Railgun batteries are charged and tracking the target. Nuclear torpedo tubes are loaded with Mark 7 fusion warheads. Point defense networks are active with overlapping fields of fire. Harper had spent years studying space combat theory before humanity had actually achieved interstellar flight capability. The principles developed by human military thinkers assumed that space warfare would be faster, more violent, and more decisive than any form of combat humanity had previously experienced. Every system on the Defender was designed to deliver maximum destructive power in the shortest possible time. On the Velthar, Krelvik made another discovery that caused him to question everything he thought he understood about military technology development. The human computer systems contained detailed specifications for weapons that existed only in theoretical form: antimatter bombs, stellar engineering projects designed for military use, biological weapons capable of targeting specific genetic markers, and artificial intelligence systems designed specifically for autonomous warfare. Sir, their military database includes theoretical weapons that most civilized species would never consider developing, Krelvik reported to his commander. They have detailed plans for weapons that could sterilize entire worlds or destabilize star systems. These plans appear to be regularly updated and improved. Zexthal reviewed the data with the growing realization that his species had encountered something unprecedented in galactic history. The humans had not simply developed advanced military technology, they had systematically explored every possible method of destroying their enemies. Even more disturbing, their theoretical weapons showed clear signs of ongoing development and refinement. These beings don't just plan for victory in individual battles, Zexthal observed grimly. They plan for the complete elimination of threats on a galactic scale. Their military thinking extends to weapons that could destroy entire civilizations. Dr. Martinez continued her analysis of the alien vessel while monitoring their scanning activities. The foreign ship used technology that was clearly advanced but followed design principles that seemed focused on exploration and scientific research rather than military application. This suggested that most galactic species had evolved beyond the need for dedicated military vessels. Captain, the alien ship appears to be designed primarily for scientific and exploratory missions, Martinez reported. Their weapon systems are minimal and appear to be intended for defense against natural hazards rather than combat with other vessels. This suggests they come from a largely peaceful galactic community. Morrison considered this information carefully. If the aliens came from a peaceful civilization, their detailed scanning of Earth's military capabilities might represent genuine scientific curiosity rather than hostile intelligence gathering. However, human military doctrine emphasized caution when dealing with unknown threats, regardless of their apparent peaceful intentions. Maintain combat readiness, Morrison ordered. Peaceful intentions are fine, but we need to be prepared for any possibility. Our first responsibility is to protect Earth and human interests. The Zephyrian scans revealed additional details about human military organization that defied conventional understanding of how civilized species structured their armed forces. Instead of a single unified military command, humans maintained separate services for different combat environments. Army, Navy, Air Force, Marines, and the newly created Space Command each operated under different tactical doctrines while maintaining the ability to coordinate complex joint operations. Their military is organized into multiple independent services that specialize in different forms of warfare. Krelvik continued his analysis. Each service has developed its own tactical approaches, weapon systems, and training programs. The level of specialization suggests they have extensive experience with combat in multiple environments simultaneously. This organizational structure indicated that humans had fought wars complex enough to require different types of forces operating in coordination across multiple battlefields. Most galactic civilizations maintained simple defense forces that could handle pirates or natural disasters. Humans had created a military machine designed for prolonged conflict against sophisticated opponents. Major Brooks checked her Marine units as they took positions throughout the ship. Each soldier carried weapons designed specifically for combat in the confined spaces of starship corridors and compartments. Their powered armor included life support systems that would allow them to fight in vacuum if the ship's hull was breached during battle. All Marine units report ready for boarding operations, Brooks announced over the communications system. We have breach charges prepared for enemy hull penetration and combat teams ready for interior assault operations. The concept of boarding enemy vessels during space combat represented another aspect of human military thinking that puzzled the Zephyrians. Most civilized species avoided close-range combat in space because of the risks involved. Humans had developed specialized tactics for fighting at ranges so close that both vessels might be damaged or destroyed during the engagement. Commander, their infantry forces appear to be trained and equipped for combat operations inside enemy starships, Krelvik reported with obvious concern. They have developed weapons, armor, and tactics specifically for fighting in the corridors and compartments of space vessels. This revelation suggested that humans viewed starship combat as only one phase of space warfare. They were prepared to continue fighting even after their vessels were damaged or disabled. Their military doctrine included provisions for hand-to-hand combat in situations where most species would simply retreat or surrender. The final aspect of human military capability that the scans revealed was perhaps the most disturbing of all. The Defender's crew had trained extensively in damage control and emergency repair procedures that would allow them to continue fighting, even after sustaining damage that would disable most vessels. Their ship included redundant systems, emergency power sources, and repair capabilities that suggested they expected to continue operations under conditions that would force other species to withdraw from combat. The moment of first contact between humanity and the Zephyrian Empire arrived, as both vessels moved within communication range of each other. The Velthar had completed its detailed scans of the human warship, revealing information that would change the course of galactic history. Commander Zexthal now faced the challenge of making contact with a species whose military capabilities exceeded anything his civilization had encountered in 3,000 years of galactic exploration. Captain Morrison appeared on the Zephyrian viewscreen as communication links established between the two vessels. His calm, professional demeanor radiated the controlled confidence of a military commander who had spent years preparing for exactly this type of encounter. Behind him, the bridge of the Defender showed a crew working with efficient precision that impressed even experienced alien observers. Unknown vessel, you have entered Earth territorial space without permission, and have been conducting unauthorized scans of our defensive installations, Morrison stated in clear, measured tones. Identify yourself immediately, and explain your intentions in this system. The directness of the human communication surprised Zexthul. Most species approached first contact with elaborate diplomatic protocols designed to avoid misunderstandings that might lead to conflict. These humans opened communication with what amounted to a military challenge delivered with professional courtesy but unmistakable authority. We are representatives of the Zephyrian Empire conducting peaceful scientific surveys of your stellar region, Zexthul replied carefully. We intended no hostile action toward your species. Our scans were performed according to standard exploration protocols used throughout the galaxy. Morrison studied the alien commander on his screen while processing this response. Dr. Martinez had been monitoring the alien scanning activities, and her analysis suggested that their technology was far more advanced than anything humanity currently possessed. However, their apparent surprise at human military capabilities indicated they had not expected to encounter serious resistance in this system. Commander, peaceful exploration does not typically include detailed analysis of military installations and defensive systems, Morrison responded. Your scanning activities suggest intelligence gathering rather than scientific research. Please explain why you require detailed information about our weapons and defensive capabilities. Behind Morrison, Lieutenant Commander Harper continued, monitoring the tactical situation while keeping all weapon systems ready for immediate use. The alien vessel was smaller than the Defender, but its advanced technology made it impossible to predict its actual combat capabilities. Human military doctrine emphasized maintaining readiness for immediate action while attempting diplomatic solutions. On the Velthar, Krelvik completed his analysis of human civilization and presented Zexthul with a summary that filled the Zephyrian commander with growing dread. The beings they had encountered were not simply another primitive species developing basic spaceflight capabilities. They represented something far more dangerous than anything the galaxy had seen in living memory. Sir, our complete analysis reveals that these humans have spent their entire evolutionary history perfecting warfare as both an art and a science, Krelvik reported quietly. Every aspect of their technological development has been influenced by military requirements. Every advancement in their knowledge has been immediately applied to weapons development. The data showed that humans had not only mastered conventional military technology, but had developed theoretical frameworks for types of warfare that civilized species had never considered. Biological weapons designed to target specific genetic markers. Artificial intelligence systems created specifically for autonomous military operations. Stellar engineering projects intended to weaponize entire star systems. Commander, they have not simply built a warship, Krelvik continued his briefing. They have created a template for galactic conquest. Every system on their vessel can be reproduced using basic industrial capacity. Their weapons can be scaled for any target from individual soldiers to entire planets. Their tactical doctrine assumes victory through overwhelming technological superiority. Dr. Martinez had been conducting her own analysis of the alien vessel while monitoring their communications. Her findings suggested that the Zephyrians represented a largely peaceful civilization that had not engaged in serious military conflict for generations. Their technology was advanced, but their weapons were clearly designed for defense against natural hazards, rather than warfare against intelligent opponents. Captain, the alien vessel shows no evidence of recent military upgrades or combat modifications, Martinez reported. Their crew appears to be composed entirely of scientists and explorers. I believe they are genuinely surprised by our military readiness and combat capabilities. Morrison considered this assessment while maintaining his vigilant stance toward the unknown aliens. Human history had taught painful lessons about trusting the peaceful intentions of technologically superior opponents. Even genuinely peaceful civilizations could become threats if they decided that humanity represented a danger to galactic stability. Maintain full combat readiness, Morrison ordered his crew. Dr. Martinez, prepare a complete briefing on human military capabilities for transmission to Earth Command. They need to know exactly what these aliens have learned about our defenses. The communication between the two vessels continued as each side attempted to understand the intentions and capabilities of the other. Zexthul found himself in the unprecedented position of conducting first contact with a species that appeared to view military preparedness as a normal aspect of civilization, rather than an unfortunate necessity. Captain Morrison, the Zephyrian Empire has contacted hundreds of species throughout the galaxy, Zexthul explained. Most civilizations focus their development on trade, science, and cultural advancement once they achieve interstellar capabilities. Your species appears to have chosen a different path. Morrison's response revealed the fundamental difference between human thinking and the perspectives of most galactic civilizations. Commander, humanity has learned through bitter experience that peace can only be maintained by those who are prepared to defend it effectively. Our military capabilities exist to protect our people and our interests from any threat that might emerge. This exchange crystallized the terrible realization that was forming in Zexthul's mind. The humans were not simply another species with advanced military technology. They represented a fundamentally different approach to civilization that prioritized military strength as the foundation for all other achievements. Major Brooks reported from the Marine deck that her forces remained ready for immediate deployment if the situation deteriorated into combat. The human soldiers were equipped with weapons and armor that would allow them to fight effectively in any environment, from the vacuum of space to the corridors of enemy starships. All boarding teams report ready for immediate deployment, Brooks announced. We have cutting charges prepared for enemy hull breach and assault teams ready for interior combat operations. If these aliens want to test human military capabilities, we're prepared to provide them with a comprehensive demonstration. The Zephyrians intercepted this communication, and Krelvik provided a translation that filled their bridge with stunned silence. The humans were not just prepared for defensive action, they were actively planning offensive operations against the alien vessel. Their military doctrine included provisions for capturing enemy ships and continuing combat operations, even in the most extreme circumstances. Commander, their military protocols indicate they consider our scanning activities to be hostile reconnaissance, Krelvik reported with obvious concern. They appear to be preparing for immediate combat operations, including attempts to capture our vessel through direct assault. The full scope of human military development became clear to the Zephyrians as they realized that these beings had not simply developed advanced weapons. They had created a complete military philosophy based on total victory achieved through superior preparation and willingness to accept casualties that would break the morale of more civilized opponents. Sir, if conflict develops, we cannot match their combat capabilities, Krelvik continued grimly. Their weapons are designed for maximum destructive effect. Their crew is trained for combat in any environment, and their tactical doctrine assumes that warfare will continue until one side is completely defeated. We have no comparable military experience or equipment. The final phase of the Zephyrian analysis revealed the complete truth about what humanity represented to the galaxy. As Krelvik completed his comprehensive scan of human military capabilities, the data painted a picture that would haunt the Zephyrian Empire for generations to come. These beings had not simply built an advanced warship, they had created a prototype for galactic domination that could be reproduced anywhere humans established colonies. Every system aboard the UES Defender was designed for rapid reproduction and continuous improvement. The manufacturing techniques used to create their weapons could be deployed on any world with basic metallic resources and energy sources. Their armor materials could be synthesized using common elements found throughout the galaxy. Most significantly, their tactical doctrines could be adapted to any opponent in any environment. Commander, their military infrastructure is designed for exponential expansion, Krelvik reported to Zexthul with barely controlled fear. Once they establish industrial capacity on multiple worlds, they could produce fleets of vessels like this one within decades. Their technology base allows for rapid scaling of military production. The implications were staggering. Most galactic civilizations took centuries to develop significant military capabilities after achieving interstellar travel. They built exploration, vessels first, established trade relationships, and only gradually developed defensive forces as needed. Humans had reversed this process, creating military capabilities first, and apparently planning to use them to secure whatever resources they needed for expansion. Captain Morrison continued his careful evaluation of the alien vessel while maintaining diplomatic communication with their commander. The Zephyrians clearly possessed advanced technology, but their ship design and crew behavior suggested they came from a civilization that had not engaged in serious military conflict for generations. This gave humanity significant advantages in any potential confrontation. Commander Zexthul, humanity is willing to establish peaceful relationships with any species that approaches us with honest intentions and mutual respect, Morrison stated clearly. However, unauthorized intelligence gathering regarding our defensive capabilities suggests neither honesty nor respect for our sovereignty. The ultimatum was delivered with professional courtesy, but its implications were unmistakable to anyone familiar with military communication protocols. Morrison was giving the aliens an opportunity to explain their actions or withdraw peacefully. If they chose neither option, the consequences would be swift and decisive. Dr. Martinez completed her analysis of alien technology and provided Morrison with an assessment that confirmed his tactical evaluation. Captain, their vessel represents advanced scientific capability but minimal military preparation. Their weapons appear designed for clearing space debris rather than combat with intelligent opponents. If conflict develops, we maintain significant advantages in firepower, armor, and tactical preparation. This information reinforced Morrison's confidence in his crew's ability to handle any threat the aliens might present. However, it also suggested that the galaxy contained civilizations with technology levels that exceeded human achievement in non-military applications. Establishing peaceful relationships would provide humanity with access to advanced scientific knowledge, while conflict would only delay human expansion into space. On the Velthar, Zexthul faced the most difficult decision of his long career as an exploration commander. The beings they had discovered possessed military capabilities that exceeded anything in the Zephyrian database, but they appeared willing to discuss peaceful coexistence. However, their detailed scanning of human capabilities had clearly been interpreted as a hostile act. Sir, recommend immediate withdrawal from this system, Krelvik advised urgently. Their military doctrine appears to classify intelligence gathering as preparation for attack. If we remain in their territory, they may initiate combat operations based on the assumption that we represent a threat to their security. Zexthul understood that his next decision would determine whether first contact between humanity and the Iter Zephyrian Empire resulted in peaceful cooperation or military conflict. The humans had demonstrated both the capability and willingness to engage in combat if they perceived threats to their interests. At the same time, they had shown restraint by attempting diplomatic communication rather than immediate attack. Captain Morrison, the Zephyrian Empire apologizes for any misunderstanding regarding our survey activities, Zexthul transmitted carefully. We did not realize that your species would interpret scientific scanning as hostile intelligence gathering. We are prepared to withdraw from your territorial space and report your presence to appropriate diplomatic authorities. Morrison considered this response while consulting with his senior officers. Lieutenant Commander Harper maintained weapons readiness while Major Brooks kept Marine forces prepared for boarding operations. The aliens appeared genuinely surprised by human reactions to their scanning activities, suggesting they came from a galactic community where military preparedness was less common. Commander, humanity appreciates your clarification of intent, Morrison replied. However, detailed analysis of military installations without permission represents intelligence gathering regardless of the scientific motivations involved. Future contact between our species should follow appropriate diplomatic protocols. As the Velthar prepared to withdraw from the outer solar system, Krelvik completed his final report on human civilization. The document he would file with Zephyrian Command would change the course of galactic policy for the foreseeable future. The galaxy had encountered a species that represented an entirely new type of threat. Sir, final assessment confirms that humanity poses an existential threat to current galactic stability, Krelvik reported grimly. If these beings ever decide to expand beyond their system, no existing military force will be capable of stopping them. They don't fight to capture resources or territory. They fight to eliminate threats permanently. The human approach to warfare was based on principles that civilized species had abandoned thousands of years earlier. Complete destruction of enemy capabilities, overwhelming force applied without restraint, victory achieved through superior technology, and absolute commitment to success regardless of casualties or destruction involved. They have turned warfare into a precise science while maintaining the warrior mentality of primitive species, Krelvik continued. Their weapons can destroy planets, their tactics assume total victory, and their military organization can be adapted to any scale of conflict, from individual combat to galactic warfare. Commander Zexthul watched the human warship maintain its position as the Velthar withdrew from Earth's solar system. The beings aboard that vessel represented something the galaxy had not seen in living memory, a species that had achieved advanced technology while retaining the military instincts that had allowed them to survive and dominate their home world. As the UES Defender watched the alien vessel depart, Captain Morrison turned to address his crew. Stand down from red alert, but maintain elevated readiness status. Communications, transmit complete mission reports to Earth Command with recommendations. For immediate acceleration of fleet construction programs, Lieutenant Amy Carter began preparation of detailed reports that would inform Earth's leadership about humanity's first contact with galactic civilization. The encounter had revealed that advanced alien civilizations existed throughout the galaxy, but they appeared to lack the military preparation that humans considered essential for survival. Sir, message transmitted to Earth Command, Carter reported. Recommend immediate consultation with military leadership regarding expansion of defensive capabilities and preparation for future alien contact. Morrison nodded as he considered the implications of what they had discovered. The galaxy contained civilizations with advanced technology, but limited military capabilities. This presented humanity with unprecedented opportunities for expansion and development, provided they maintained the military superiority that would allow them to negotiate from positions of strength. The Zephyrian Empire would spend the following years attempting to prepare for what their analysts now knew was inevitable. Humanity would eventually reach for the stars with the same determination and military excellence that had made them masters of their own world. The galaxy had been introduced to its new apex predator, and nothing would ever be the same again.